Welcome everybody to my army showcase of what is, and I know that I say this in every single video that's of this ilk. I always say this is my favorite project I've done. This might be my favorite project I've ever done. This is my Winter GCPS, the Frozen 27th. I'm still working on the backstory a little bit, but essentially what it boils down to is this is a GCPS corporation. Basically what I have built up in my mind is that they are on the Cold Harbor. That is a planet. I'm showing it on screen now. That is a planet where basically they discovered that there is an extremely valuable resource in the permafrost. So down below in the permafrost, basically there's this valuable resource that they've been able to tap into, and so obviously where there's profit to be made. Essentially what they found is that because the planet is so cold and because the conditions have been so inhospitable for so long, that essentially what they've done is they found something that works for the basically the coolant systems for giant spacefaring engines. And so this is a very valuable resource for this corporation. And so because this is such a harsh environment, what had happened for these poor fellas is that they basically got left alone for decades and decades on this cold planet that just sucks. It's just brutally awful. And supply drops became fewer and farther between. So basically the company's still out there, they're still making stuff happen. However, the supply drops have become less and less common, and so they're in this kind of gray zone of funding. And so instead of brand new equipment and all the newest stuff, they get all the hand-me-downs, or they only have what they came to the planet with all those decades ago. And so what they've done is they've had to retrofit lots of equipment, and what they did is build a kind of Viking-esque warrior society. And so there's a lot of traditions and things that became known as they inhabited this planet. And so because the resources were so sparse, they decided that the best way forward was to actually start cultivating the wildlife and having those really big load-bearing animals start carrying their things. And then as conflicts and things arose, they determined that not only could they haul around all this heavy equipment, but what they could also do is strap guns to it, and then they became weapons of war. And so that's kind of the reason why some of these conversions exist. So this is, again, I'm still kind of working on the backstory, but that's basically what it came down to, is these guys are not getting proper corporation funding, and so what they're doing is repurposing all of the old hand-me-down tanks and basically utilizing the local wildlife, like frost fangs especially, to become weapons of war and load-bearing animals. So yeah, again, I'm super proud of this project. This is definitely my most ambitious converting and just like customizing of an army, because I do have basically all the armies, but they're all pretty much by the books for the most part. Like, I haven't really gone crazy with converting until now. So this is the overall army review, and then I'll kind of break down each, I guess, make this a full showcase video and start breaking down each unit and kind of what I did and some little tidbits and notes about them, what kits they came from, and just how cool this is. So yeah, super happy with this. You guys saw it on the channel at least once with the battle report that we did, but there will be more, because look at all these vehicles. There's gotta be a little something there. So yeah, I guess while I've got you here, I'm gonna start breaking down into all the various different units. So I'll be right back. So I figured I'd start with the infantry and kind of go from there. So these are pretty basic conversions. So this is essentially the bodies of the half-elf berserker kits. Those are awesome, and they come in the ambush set for Kings of War. So that's how you get those cool flowing cloaks, and then all of the arms are GCPS Marine arms. Basically, I've got 4 of these squads, and they all have a leader who's pointing, because of course, leaders point, and we all know that. And then I've got 2 grenade launchers in each. Those are my favorite of the upgrades for Firefight especially. But even in like Deadzone, I really like the grenade launcher. It's just really, really valuable to have. But yeah, these are like super easy conversion things. They basically fit together like a glove. Like they're wonderful. So they're like the same torso width and super, super simple, but just fantastic. And then all of the heads have been, I basically just got all of the GCPS Riot Trooper heads. I remember back when Riot Troopers first got announced, like I thought those were just the coolest looking helmets. They're just like right in between like Dead Space and Titanfall, and still somehow perfectly GCPS. I just think they're awesome. So yeah, that's the large bulk of my army is those heads, because I just think they look awesome. Plus, in a frozen, terrible environment, you'd want your face to be covered as much as possible because the elements are brutal out here. So there's that. And then over here, we've got just some generic kind of Marines. So I usually use these guys to kind of fill in command squads, or I run this guy as a lieutenant, and then he's got some dudes for Firefight. But this is just the straight up kit, except it's got the tank commander head from the Canis command vehicle. Yeah, super cool looking heads. They just look that much cooler than like the usual Marines, and I just think it fits the theme quite well. These are actually the first guys I ever converted for this army. So this is the human tribesman bodies. Similar vibe here. So I did the veteran arms for these guys. So they all have the carbines, and then they all have the ranger heads because they're just awesome. I mean, they look like Master Chief, and what's not to love? So these guys don't fit quite as perfectly as the half-elf berserker guys. The tribesmen are a little bit wider and chunkier, which is why they're perfect for rangers, because it looks like they have armor on underneath all these coats and stuff. But yeah, the arms are a little bit more finicky. You got to kind of pinch them together a little bit more and work with the glue, because yeah, it's not a perfect fit, but they look really good once they're together. And then obviously the leaders have the cool moose antler things. I think that's just a really cool thematic touch for these guys. And again, it's just awesome. And yeah, this is not the first, I'm definitely not the first person to ever do the Winter GCPS thing. There's been a couple guys. I think there's one in Britain. And then definitely Felix Castro, I know he did some, and for his Maison Labs, and I love that idea, and I just took it and ran with it, and then kept running, and then kept running, and then kept running. So props to other people as well. I just wanted to do it the best I possibly could, but I'm really happy with this stuff. So then we get to the heavy weapons stuff. So heavy weapons here, we've got a good smattering of all the different guns. So these are all the autocannons. I've got 4 teams of autocannons. And something I'm really proud about with the heavy weapons teams in general is that I don't have any that look the same as the next. Like the guns are obviously, you know, uniform, but everyone's got a little bit different thing going, whether it's holding an axe or it's pointing, or this guy doesn't have a helmet on, or, you know, everyone's a little bit custom in here. And just when I was making this army, it's just so much fun to just find little bits and bobs on different guys and then just kind of combine them. And so this is kind of just a hodgepodge of all kinds of different stuff. So you got, you know, like these guys have, like some of them have swords. This guy's got a spear, and it's just really fun. Again, a lot of this wouldn't be possible without the Mantic Vault too. There's quite a few things that are printed here, not just the heads, but like all of these heavy weapons teams are 3D printed. And then the bodies are obviously the actual kits. But yeah, going back to actually how they're kitted out, I've got 2 with the missile launchers, which I'm starting to really like in Firefight. I kind of wish I would have modeled more, or I guess when I expand on this, because no project is ever fully complete, I might do more missile teams, because those guys are awesome. And then I've got the laser cannon guys. Usually I say the engineer's the guy with the spear, because you got to run an engineer with the laser teams, and they're awesome. And then I've got all the mortars in the back here. I just think they're really thematic. I got the cool binocular guys. They're just rocking out. This guy's got the head of a Thane model from Kings of War, the guy with the beard. Again, I'm just really happy with the way everything turned out, so you're gonna hear me say that quite a few times, but it's true. And then we've got the TAC drones. So I did go full magnet wanker on these. So they are all magnetized, which is super helpful for gameplay. I think the missile launcher looks the coolest, but they're all pretty cool, and they all just like swap in, swap out. Really easy magnet stuff. I didn't drill or anything. It's not worth it. You can't even tell. But yeah, cool models, cool squad, awesome rules, great in Deadzone, great in Firefight. So yeah, that's the infantry section. I'll keep it going here. Oh, and actually, before I leave the infantry section, I should talk about the medics. So I've got two medics here. One's got the Frostfang head on the left side, and then the other one's exactly how he comes in Vault. Cool model. I'm glad that they released him on Vault, because he does look a little bit more official than if you just tried to like kit bash using the normal kit. Obviously, you can get a lot of mileage with the regular kit, but it is kind of cool to have a medic that has proper medic gear. Not sure why I set these guys aside, but these are the GCPS Riot Troopers. They're pretty much straight out the package. These guys are just super cool modeled. Really cool in both games, especially Deadzone. I think they really shine in Deadzone. That Defender shield comes up huge for them. So yeah, super cool unit. Not too much to note conversion-wise on them. But now we get into the command squad. These are all my leaders and friends and whatnot, and I'm super jazzed about all these guys. So first off, we've got some lieutenants, majors, that kind of rank. So I've got these guys right here. So this first guy on the left, who looks like Obi-Wan from episode 2 / the Clone Wars, especially the the Samurai Jack Clone Wars. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, that was an awesome series. So that was super rad. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going for with this guy. So he looks kind of like Obi-Wan. He's got the cool axe, and so usually I run this guy as the I think it's the major, because the major has a sword, and it just fits really well with the model. Next, I have a lieutenant, and she's pretty rad as well. She's actually made from the Vanguard Naiad, the ice Naiad that comes from Vanguard, and then she's got some sci-fi bits attached, and guns and arms and head. And then this guy I'm pretty happy with as well. So he's actually got Enforcer Pathfinder legs, because that's how you get those legs that are like crouching and down on the ground like that. And so he's pretty rad. He's got the head that comes in, I think it's the Tribesman kit is where that one comes from. But then I've got an arm from the Half-Elf Berserkers, and then he's got the torso, and it's whole thing. I'm really proud of him. And he looks like Obi-Wan from episode 3 or later Clone Wars kind of stuff, which is kind of fun. Especially in like the white armor, they look very kind of Republic-y. And then I've got the Ice Elemental in the back, and I usually just run him as a drone for the medic, just as an excuse to put this model on the table. That's literally the only reason I did this, is because I had the stuff from Vanguard, and I was like, you know what, that's awesome. Plus, I have the super cool Kickstarter one, which is the translucent, and it just turned out great. The Liquid Frost from Green Stuff World really comes in clutch, and you'll see it all over my army, but it's just super cool how you get those little growths of frost on the sides. But any excuse to put that model on the table, and that's usually what I do, is just find some excuse to have some drone that doesn't have great gameplay, but just slap them in there. So then we have my Ranger contingent. So these are Ranger lieutenants. Again, just these are pretty cool little conversions. So this first one on the left is actually made from the Thane model. So he's resin. And then he's got bits and bobs attached, and this was a lot of like carving and cutting to like take out the original arms and then put in the new GCPS arms and all that kind of thing, but I think it turned out really, really nice. And then these three guys are actually all from the original, Vanguard as well. And so these are the Huskarl models, but similar style conversion here. So same sort of thing here. This guy's got the energy gauntlet and then a shotgun. So I think that shotgun's actually from the Therese Washington model, which is what that first dude is from. And yeah, I can't express to you guys how much fun it was to convert all this stuff. And I really did bust out the bits box from like all the different things. And it just became this giant project where I kept finding new bits and bobs to put on there and combine and change and move around. Like these guns here, so these are going to be Ranger snipers. They're completely like custom guns. So it's like the first part of the gun, like the stock part is actually from Enforcers. And then I've had some extra burst lasers lying around, so then I kind of melded the two together, and then it just made like the big long-barreled gun, and I was just going crazy with all these conversions, just super, super cool. And then I've got my forward observer, who is none other than the infamous Blaine. This is the Vanguard version, so he's got the dead Frostfang on his back. He's just wintered out and just looks wicked cool. He's such an awesome looking model. I gave him the old Enforcer Genling, so he's actually got a different rifle from everybody else. But yeah, this pose and this model's just so cool. So that's him, and then because in Firefight it's not just him, he can also take some Pathfinders. They are in here, and they have the correct weapons. So these are from the half-elf, or Icekin Hunters is what they're called, but these are also from Vanguard, so that's what that is. And then possibly my favorite model in this entire army is this Snow Troll guy. So if anyone's ever seen the Snow Troll model, you'll know that he's very not great posed. And so what I did is I took out the old T-pose and then just like went crazy on the hot water converting and all that stuff. I took a rotary cannon from a Hornet, and so it looks like he just ripped it straight off. He's got the gun belt from the Marauders. This is actually a Strider cockpit, is this backpack thing. And then I have the human tribesman shields kind of attached to it. He's got all these bones on the side. Just super, super characterful and just awesome. I also did the frost effect on his shoulder pads, and then somehow it mixed with like some super glue or something, and it made this icicle. I didn't actually mean to make that icicle that kind of comes down over his bicep, but now it's just on there, and it looks it looks like it belongs. It's just super cool. Happy accident. And then his shank bayonet at the bottom is actually the spear tip from the Blaine model, but I just thought that had so much detail, and it looked so cool that like he's got to rep it. And in Deadzone, this guy's an absolute monster. The Ogre, I just run him as the Ogre Terminator with the rotary cannon because it's just too cool. And he makes it into literally every Deadzone list that I've done for GCPS because he is my favorite model in this entire army. And it's a shame that he's not in Firefight. If he was in Firefight, I'd have to convert like a whole squad of them, and I would happily do so. But yeah, he's the star of the show. I need to come up with a really cool name for him, so if anybody has an awesome name, just holler at your boy. Next up, we've got the monocycles. So, yeah, I've got 7 total here, including the leader guy. He obviously stands out a little bit more. These are all from the vault. They're all really cool. Nothing crazy here. No insane conversions. This guy's got one arm that is a half-elf berserker arm. Other than that, pretty straightforward, except for the leader. Obviously, he is custom. So this is actually a model that I got at March Hare, which is an Omaha Kings of War one-day tournament. But at the end of the thing, they have the prize support, and All the prize support kind of got picked through, and that was, you know, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's it. And then there's a couple leftover things that nobody picked up, and I actually saw that it was a War Machine Hordes model, and it's like this wizard lady riding side saddle, but I just looked at the mount, and I was like, that mount is so cool. Look at those horns. Look at that. He's just like awesome, like reindeer Billy Goat, like battle goat guy. He's awesome. So knew I had to do that. And then this guy was actually kind of a chore. I had to chop some legs in half and then kind of re-sculpt the middle part so it fit with the actual model, because there's no one who rides anything in the GCPS, so had to custom do the legs. But I'm really happy with the way this guy turned out. And he's an epic leader for the squad, even if it's not the greatest stat profile ever, but super, super neat. And this way I figured I could run 2 small squads or 1 big blob, and you know, this guy's always going to make the table because he's just that much cooler. Let's talk about mules. So you couldn't have just a normal boring mule. This is as close as I get. I did add a big ol' snowplow dozer blade. I believe that's from a GW Chimera model. But yeah, I've got the mules here, and so these are all, nothing's like glued down or anything, so you can switch turrets and take them out. So if I wanted to run like 3 transport mules, I totally could. I actually need more Bronco turrets because Broncos are awesome, but we'll get to the other Bronco that I have in a second. So this is the most basic of the mules. It's just got the normal wheels, and then I actually built this guy out of complete scrap. So the gunner on the back is, let's see, a half-elf berserker head. The body is actually the little body that comes in the Strider kit. So they give you a torso, and it's kind of skinny, but if you slap a backpack on the back, it actually looks pretty decent. And then it's an extra set of legs from the Pathfinders, I think, from Enforcers, and that's how I did that. Had to put it on a little box, though, so she could actually reach the gun. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Turned out pretty cool. You'll see that on all my vehicles, I've got like this tank netting. I think that just really ties the model together, makes it look old and weathered and slightly camouflaged. It's perfect for the environment, and then also, you know, because like in World War II, they used to do that with tanks all the time. They would put this really cool, elaborate like camo netting on top, and then they would stick a bunch of foliage in there and stuff. But I wanted to keep it a little bit more neutral than that and not put like foliage. But I think it's pretty rad, pretty sweet. Again, you can see that frost effect on all these. And then, yeah, these 2 mules have the tank treads in the back just to make them look extra snowmobile-y, which obviously looks great. I couldn't do it on this one because I ran out of tank treads to use. But these are actually from the Forge Father Jotun artillery platforms, and so that's where those came from. But they looked really cool if you swapped out the wheels and added dozer blades. So yeah, pretty sweet. This one was a Canis command tank, but as you'll see here in a second, I have a different Canis command tank that I decided to go with, and so I needed to have a weapon option, and I had an extra turret from the Bronco, and so he's now got a big gun, and I can run it as a Bronco, and it seems to make enough sense to me, so pretty cool. Love the way the mules turned out. I'm really happy with the way that my paint scheme turned out on the vehicles, especially. I just feel like that weathered, beat up, grungy, snowy look really comes through, especially on the vehicles. But speaking of vehicles, let's go into Striderland, because those are pretty sweet. So here are my 5 Striders. I've got the 2 close combat variants, which I'll get into in a second. And then I've got my ranged ones, which are... I said that the Snow Troll guy is my favorite in the army, and that's still probably true. This is a close runner-up, maybe. Super, super cool. So I have the Frost Fang cavalry, and then just added a couple bits and bobs, hacked up some stuff, took the gun, the Polaris Strider gun, and then got the pilot guy, and I'm just like, this is the coolest thing. So I'm just super, super happy with the way this turned out. I don't even really run all that many Striders in Deadzone, but I'll usually try to figure out a way to throw this guy into a Deadzone list just so I can run the model, because I'm so happy with this one. So yeah, I have 2 Polaris Frostfang cavalry guys. So yeah, there's that one, and then this guy, he's pointing and kind of doing like a halt order with the other hand. I think it looks very tank commandery. And yeah, so there's 2 of these guys. They have a slightly different like gun build on the bottom part. This is kind of my version 2. It was a lot easier, and I think it looks pretty good. Whereas that first one was a little bit more work, but he was the original. So then I've got the burst laser variant. So this was the burst laser that comes with the terrain. And then, let's see, I think this is from the Jotun. Yeah, this is the backside of the Jotun. And then some of these armor plates and things I think are from the Wolverine kit, and then Strider stuff. And yeah, these are just a blast. And so, yeah, this is the burst laser Strider variant. Again, I like the way that the rider's positioned, because it looks like he's kind of peeking around the side of the gun to kind of get a good angle on it. Like, especially from his perspective, he can actually see what he's shooting at, which is kind of fun. So yeah, super, super happy with those guys, and one wasn't enough. I had to keep going. I had to do doubles and triples. And then we have the close combat Striders, and so I've got both of them kitted out to be Ajax Striders, using extra pieces of terrain, again with that unified theme with the camo netting. And then these guys are lightly magnetized. This guy, the axe is just so cool and iconic that I feel like it worked for both versions. So this guy has just one arm that is magnetized, but he can swap out his big old shield for a flamethrower, and now he's an urban assault Strider. And I really like doing the pose on this guy. He's running around. The axe is from Conquest Minotaur guys. I bought one of those at clearance at my local game store and just thought those were awesome models. I still don't know what I'm going to use the actual Minotaurs for, but man, they had giant axes, and so I custom made this axe between, I think it's an amalgamation of like 3 different axes. But yeah, that's, and then lots of chopping. That was the original chainsaw arm, so that was not an easy hacking and slashing and chopping away. And then you've got this guy, so he's got the more traditional grav ram spear, and again he's got customized magnetized options. This is actually one of the light posts from Deadzone, and then I think this is also from the Minotaur kit, so it's again a nice little fun mismatch of stuff. And then, as you do, you gotta magnetize this guy, and he gets the good old bloody chainsaw. So this gives me the close combat options, and yeah, I didn't bother doing the gun variants because I have all the Frostfang guys. So yeah, I figured the mechanical ones would be up close and personal, whereas the Frostfang guys would be the ranged versions. And magnets are just fun. I definitely recommend, if you want to do Striders, to just magnetize on that joint right there. It's pretty simple. It doesn't take much effort, honestly, and then you can at least swap out a couple weapons. It's probably hard to do the two-handed shooty guns, but if you're gonna do something like this, I'd recommend it. And then we've got the Wolverines. Wolverine is a cool tank model. It's got so much detail in it and on it, and it's almost too much, but in a good way. Especially because I think this really fits my GCPS. It fits their lore. This looks like a little bit of an older style tank, and then you'll see my newer style tank too that I made for this. But yeah, so this one on the left is definitely like straight out of the box, like how you would make the generic Wolverine. And so it's got all the Wolverine doodads and bits and bobs. There are a few things that like you can cover this up, but I hated the way that it looked if you covered up all this cool detail. Like, look at that. Yeah, if you put a big grate on top of it, it's like, why? It looks so cool. So yeah, there's that one, and then this one's a little bit more custom, so I changed up the turret, obviously. So this is one of the vault options for the Bronco. I think this is the Maison Labs Bronco version, but I just thought this gun looked a lot more sci-fi and looked really cool. And then I switched out the barrels on the back of this one for some of the terrain ones, so that it had some unified look with the rest of the, Mantic Warpath universe, Firefight, Deadzone, that kind of stuff. And then obviously I didn't glue the top, so now you can run this as an APC, which means you can jam it full of dudes and then shove it up the field, and it's pretty sweet. So cool kits. I will say the second one goes together a lot easier than the first one. The first one's kind of a chore to get painted, or not to get painted, but to get assembled. But in the end, I think they're really neat. And then I'm pretty happy with my decision to make this like a bold sci-fi looking like energy tube, rather than just the straight up like exhaust silver tank sort of look that it probably would. I think that really helps these look a little bit more sci-fi, a little less World War II-y. So this was because I just had all the creative energy in the world when I was doing this project, and I couldn't stop. I just kept converting stuff and adding guns and doing things. And so I found this old World War II tank model that was just like hanging around in one of my closets. And I was like, you know what? I bet I could sci-fi that thing up. And I did. So that's how this came to be. This is going to be my Canis command vehicle. And it's really based off of the old Lancer artwork. I still am hoping for a Lancer battle tank in addition to the Wolverine battle tank. But it's a hover tank, which is pretty rad. I think this turned out really cool. So this is actually the flight stand that comes with the Pathfinder drones in the Enforcers. But I have a couple extra from that because they give you like 4 stands for 2 drones. And I was like, I can't go to waste. So here we are. And then, so the main hull of this thing is from that World War II tank, but then it's got all kinds of terrain crate, like battle zone stuff all over it. And so actually these side walls are from the fortified terrain kit. And I put them on the side of this thing, and I just made it look like a cool Star Wars style, like land speeder. I just thought it looked so cool. Yeah, you can see some of the battlements, like this is also from Terrain Crate, Deadzone terrain. And then, yeah, all kinds of stuff. And I also just did the same magnetization as the TAC drone. And so the TAC drone stuff will just slop into here. It's not the best fit. It does look a little janky, just like the little cone at the bottom, but also it gives you full spinability and options, and I don't have to think about it, especially for a thing that no one's really gonna use. I've got this dude. This is the head from, let's see, this is actually in the Chimera kit. So the Kings of War Chimera has this guy with this eye patch, which is really rad. And I knew I had to put that somewhere in this army, and I thought he looked like a cool tank commander. And then, yeah, I'm actually really proud of the back, too. The back looks like a really cool-looking engine. It's got the 3 barrels, presumably fuel. And then, yeah, the top is made from the APC attachment for the Wolverine, and yeah, I'm really happy. It looks really, really sci-fi, you know? It adds that extra layer of science fiction to this otherwise grounded, well, not grounded, I've got people riding giant polar bears with guns on their backs, but you know what I mean. It just brings it into the era of, you know, maybe this is like their last bit of funding, is that they had one nice hover tank that could fly above the snow. Everything else has to just get, you know, snow plows. And so that's what this is. This is the Rolls Royce of their fleet, and that's why he's the command vehicle. And finally, I have two big, nice showcase models to finish this thing off. Let's start with the mammoth guy down here. So I'm gonna run this guy as a Bronco because it's actually got like basically the same footprint as a mule. And yeah, so the story behind this is basically I was in need of a ogre mammoth for my ogre army, and the Song of Ice and Fire mammoths that fight for the wildlings I thought just looked great. It's like perfect size. It's just really cool looking. But the package comes with two mammoths, and I needed one for Kings of War. I knew that. And I was like, you know what? What if I strap guns on it? I did the same philosophy that I did with the rest of these creatures and just slapped a bunch of guns on it and made it a weapon of war. And so this guy has all types of doodads and bits and bobs. Really, really cool model. I really like the base mammoth. It's just really, really cool. And then, of course, I just slapped a whole bunch of sci-fi stuff on it, covered it up with the netting. I've got this cool little engine doohickey back here. This is a spear from the Huskarl and Vanguard, and then this is actually the Thane model. So this was a kind of a chore, but it was a resin model, and then with all the stuff added to it. But it took all the arms chopping, and then actually I took two rifle hands, and then kind of cut them to size, and then made it look like it attached to this big giant gun. This is from the Vault. This is another like Bronco variant. And yeah, it's just super, super fun. I just thought it was just really thematic and just cool the way I went about this. And then at the end, I slapped a cool Dreadball base on there, and then decided to try a very, very light attempt at freehand. It doesn't look great when you're up close, but actually, you know, like from over here, not bad. Not bad. I was going for that Northern Alliance symbol that's on like the dice and in the rule book. And so yeah, just fun little additional touch. And then yeah, he got a pissed off mammoth, and he's hauling around heavy stuff and has a sweet gun on top. So what's not to love? Moving on. So the final model in this showcase is going to be my Chimera Horntail. So I'm gonna run this guy as a Hornet gunship with the 3 rotary cannons. You'll know that this model usually has 3 heads because it's a Chimera, obviously. So I have the flight stand with the magnets, and then this is the guy. So rather than having the 3 heads with like the dragon and the goat and all that stuff, I decided to put some rotary cannons on it. So yeah, I've got the triple gun set up here. I've got the main pilot guy, and he's just a total badass. So really cool model. I really like the detail on this thing. It adds a nice bit of color and changes the height looking of my stuff. It fits very well thematically. This is one of my better ideas, I thought. It's so crazy that it just might work kind of thing, and that's kind of what I went with here. Just wanted to pimp it out, especially because I already had the Frostfang Striders. Like, you know, you gotta have a flying one. Like, what's cooler than a polar bear with guns on it? A flying polar bear with guns on it. That's the answer. So yeah, so he is a very cool showpiece model. I'm very happy with the way he turned out, and like the pilot has really cool detail, and the actual mount has incredible detail. I really like it. A lot of straps, of course, but yeah, really excited to field this guy, and you all will be seeing them very soon in a Annihilation battle report, because I have so many vehicles. I gotta put them in something. They gotta all see the table at the same time. But yeah, this guy's gonna be a staple in this army. I think he turned out great. The rotary cannons are just so cool, and the only thing better than the rotary cannon is 3 rotary cannons. So that's gonna do it for me today, boys. and girls and whoever else decided to listen to me ramble this long. I have a lot of stuff to say, obviously, because this was a really cool, like, passion project. Definitely the most fun I've ever had modeling for really any game system. I just loved the way that it all turned out. I'm super, super stoked on it, and I'm going to keep adding to this for sure. Believe it or not, I think I need more infantry, and, you know, with more infantry comes more toys, so it's probably never going to end, but the more I can do with this, the better. I've just been looking up and down the range, looking for more cool ideas to mishmash these two together and just keep making this Northern Alliance GCPS crossover happen. And yeah, anyways, that's all I got for today. That's a lot of me talking. This is way longer than I ever thought it was going to be, but I didn't realize how long I can talk about this. So if you stuck out this long, I don't know why, but I'm glad you did. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and keep rolling 8s. I'll catch you in the next one.